On June 9, 2026, Anthropic did something they hadn't done in 2 months. They released their most powerful AI model publicly to anyone with a paid Claude subscription. Here's why that's actually a big deal. The model is called Claude Fable 5. It is a version of a more powerful underlying model called Mythos, which Anthropic refused to release publicly when they unveiled it in April. It was considered too dangerous. They gave it to 150 vetted organizations only banks, hospitals, defense firms, and today that lock came off. In this video, I am going to explain what this model actually does and why it was locked up, how they decided to open the vault, and what the safeguards actually look like. Let's start with the backstory. Let's rewind back to April. Anthropic just unveiled a new model called Mythos and immediately announced something unusual. They were not going to release it to the public. Why? Because Mythos was extraordinarily good at finding security holes in software. In the wrong hands, that's a weapon. A model that can scan code and find vulnerabilities faster than any human hacker could become the most powerful cyber attack tool ever built. So Anthropic did something clever. They started a program called Project Glasswing. They gave Mythos to 150 trusted organizations, banks, hospitals, software firms, defense companies. The idea was simple. Let the defenders get the powerful tool first. Let them find their own vulnerabilities and patch them before this technology becomes widely available. A few weeks ago, the Wall Street Journal reported that researchers using Mythos already found a real Mac OS security flaw. That strategy was working. Okay, so what can Fable 5 actually do? Let me walk through the 4 things that genuinely matter. First, long horizon autonomy. Previous AI models could run for a few minutes on their own. Fable 5 can run for days. Coding work, research, knowledge tasks. It keeps going, makes decisions, recovers from errors, all without human intervention. Second, vision that actually works. It can look at a screenshot of a website and rebuild the website source code from scratch. It can read charts and tables nested inside PDFs. For finance, legal, analytics works. That's a massive jump. Third, it beat Pokémon FireRed. I know that sounds silly, but it matters. Previous models couldn't finish the game even with a lot of help. Fable 5 did it with almost none. What this proves is the model can pursue a long multi-step goal with hundreds of decisions in sequence. That's exactly the kind of autonomy that makes it economically useful, and that's exactly why it's a bigger deal than the game. And fourth, on benchmarks, Anthropic published Fable 5 scored about 10% higher than Claude Opus 4.8, which was the previous best public model. That sounds modest. In AI benchmarks, it isn't. Now here's where it gets interesting. If the underlying technology is too dangerous to release publicly, how is Fable 5 safe enough to put on millions of phones? The answer is a safety mechanism Anthropic calls constitutional classifiers and fallback routing. Think of it like a sports car that swaps its own engine when you enter a school zone. Here's how it works. You type a message to Fable 5. Before the powerful model answers, a smaller classifier reads your question. If the question is in a high-risk category, cybersecurity, biology, chemistry, weapons, the classifier blocks Fable 5 from answering at all and silently routes your query to a less powerful model, Claude Opus 4.8. That older model gives you a safe generic answer. The trick is you don't know the switch happened. To you, the chat looks the same, but the dangerous capability never gets activated. How well does it work? Anthropic ran over 1,000 hours of external bug bounty testing, hiring outside researchers to try to jailbreak the system. They report no universal jailbreak was found. That doesn't mean it's impossible. Anthropic acknowledges the system isn't perfect, but it is the strongest evidence yet that you can build a frontier model with capability gates that actually hold under pressure. Now, here's an awkward fact I need to address. 5 days before Anthropic released Fable 5, the same company published a paper urging the world to pause AI development. Co-founder Jack Clark compared the movement to Cold War nuclear arms control. So how do you reconcile that with launching the most powerful public AI ever, 5 days later? Critics call this hypocrisy. Industry analysts have pointed out that Anthropic also filed for IPO 8 days before the pause call. 3 events in 9 days: IPO filing, pause warning, product launch. Critics say that timeline tells its own story. Anthropic's defense is this: the pause they called for was conditional. It only worked if every major frontier AI lab agreed to stop simultaneously. OpenAI, Google, Meta, XAI, none of them pledged to stop. So unilateral pausing just hands the lead to less safety-focused competitors. And the Trapdoor system you just saw, the block and fallback architecture, is Anthropic. Argues exactly the brake paddle they were advocating, now built directly into the product. Genuine warning or convenient marketing? You will have to decide that yourself. The facts are public, both readings are defensible. If you want to try Fable 5 yourself, here's what you need to know. From today until June 22, it's included in Anthropic's Pro, Max, Team, and Enterprise plans. After that, you'll need usage credits until capacity expands. If you are a developer building on the API, Fable 5 costs roughly twice as much as Opus 4.8. That sounds expensive, but the original Mythos pricing in April was 5 times higher. So the public version is significantly cheaper than the restricted one. And one detail people are missing: the vetted organizations that already had access to Mythos. Today they are getting an upgrade to something called Mythos 5, which doesn't have the trapdoor restrictions. Same Fable 5 power, no fallback. That model isn't public and probably won't be for a while. So who should care? If you are a developer, this matters now. If you are a knowledge worker, finance analyst, lawyer, or student dealing with documents, this matters within months as it integrates into more tools. Let me zoom out. 3 things are true at once after today. 1. A new tier of AI capability now exists in public hands. The most powerful model ever released is on millions of phones tonight. That changes what's possible for developers, attackers, defenders, students, and knowledge workers. 2. The tiered safety model. Powerful model with classifier gates routing risky queries to weaker models is a genuinely new template. If it holds up under real-world pressure, expect every other lab to copy it. If it breaks, expect a much harder conversation about whether frontier AI should be public at all. 3. This all hands as Anthropic heads to IPO, with OpenAI and SpaceX also filing. The next 12 months will not be quiet. The vault is open. The question is no longer whether the public gets frontier AI. It's whether the trapdoor holds. If you found this useful, subscribe.